We're now in Iran, and the president's warning tonight to Iranian officials that the U.S. will, quote, take very strong action if they execute anti-government demonstrators. As we reported before the break, the State Department fears that could happen tomorrow. Earlier today, the president encouraged the protesters to keep going, telling them, in his words, help is on the way. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Deluzio of Pennsylvania. He sits on the Armed Services Committee and is a Navy veteran. Congressman, what do you think the president means by help is on the way? Do you actually expect U.S. military action?
No, I don't, but let's be clear, Anderson. I mean, the people in Iran who are stepping up right now, they should be, right? This is a regime that not only has Iranian blood in their hands, has American blood in their hands. And I think there's something deep within all of us that yearns for freedom. And I'm sure the Iranian people are no different in wanting a say in their own destiny and wanting to be able to choose their government, to be free of this repression. So our government should be standing in solidarity with them and encouraging them to stand up for their rights and discouraging this regime from their repression and the violence they're using against their own people. I think the president and everyone in our government should be communicating that, and we should be communicating that publicly to the Iranian people, that we'll stand in solidarity with anyone who is seeking freedom, seeking the rights that people all over the world ought to have to choose their own governments and destinies.
I mean, standing in solidarity is one thing, military action is another. Do you think the U.S. should get militarily involved? Because otherwise, standing in solidarity may not amount to much.
Well, there are plenty of things short of military action that a government like ours, as powerful as ours, can do, right? One piece that has been a part of this has been the near blackout of internet and communications. We can bring to bear and put pressure on companies like Elon Musk Starlink to get internet service for folks. There are things we can do diplomatically to put pressure on this administration. I think we ought to, this administration in Iran. And so I think those are the things our government should be doing right now and communicating as best we can through whatever channels we can, that this repression, this violence against their own people should not continue. And we can bring pressure short of sending American troops into Iran, which I don't think anyone's contemplating at this point.
What benefit? I understand the desire for greater communication through Starlink, so that the world can see what's happening, can hear, and get we don't even know the numbers of people who have been killed at this stage. It's very hard getting information out. But in terms of actually stopping the killing in the streets by the regime or lessening the power of the regime, do you think greater internet service really has a lot of impact on that?
Look, that's not an adequate piece, but it's one piece of something that I think can help organization and organizing on the ground to help people in Iran communicate with each other, to organize and coordinate their actions as we're seeing the little bits that are coming out. So no, of course it's not adequate on its own, but I think it's one piece of a broader puzzle that, again, we can bring diplomatic force to bear. The president ought to be using every element of American power that does not have to include sending American troops into Iran, which, again, I don't think people in our country expect or want our government to be doing.
I want to talk about Venezuela a bit. Sources tell CNN that the Pentagon used a plane that was painted to look like a civilian aircraft, was part of a highly classified program in its first attack on a boat that the Trump administration said was smuggling drugs. The New York Times, which first reported the story, as you know, is pointing to laws of armed conflict that prohibit feigning civilian status to fool adversaries. I'm wondering what questions you might have about that, if any, and is there any reason to think there would be an investigation?
Well, one, of course, the law of armed conflict applies here. We ought to get to the bottom of what happened. These are serious allegations. I don't want to get ahead of any kind of investigation, but this is the kind of oversight that we should do in the Armed Services Committee, where I serve in the House. Again, these are serious allegations. Let's not guess. Let's just find out. Let's get to the bottom of it. Our troops conduct themselves honorably, is my expectation, but doesn't change the fact that these are serious allegations. Let's find out what happened.
And just finally, I know, as you know, Senator Mark Kelly is suing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth after the Pentagon said it was moving to demote him in rank and cut his retirement pay after he appeared in a video alongside you and other veterans who are serving in Congress. Did you expect something like this might happen when you recorded that video?
Who could have guessed the president calling for hanging, arrest, calling for prosecution? Who the heck knows? But I will tell you this. I know Mark Kelly. This guy's a patriot. He served in uniform for more than 20 years, flew combat missions, went to outer space. I go on and on. What I know is this guy's not going to be intimidated. And he's not just standing up for himself as he is. He's standing up for retired service members who I think Pete Hegseth is trying to intimidate. He's signaling, Pete Hegseth here, a very clear threat, I think, to retired service members. You speak up, you say something that we don't want you to say, that we don't like, we're going to go after your retirement, your rank, your pensions. It's outrageous. And Mark Kelly, I think, has taken on a righteous fight here.
Yeah, Congressman Chris Deluzio, appreciate your time. Thank you.